I just shot myself.
A concealed carrier for over 10 years now, Matt typically carries in molded leather holsters. Up until this point, he's never had an issue with his setup. He was thinking of making a change to his holster just to see how it would go. His eye was on a more expensive leather holster. However, he wanted to try a cheaper nylon one first to see if it's his style. He went with a Blackhawk Nylon IWB Holster size B, but things didn't go as he planned. Keep watching for Matt's shocking full story and our reviews on the top 9 most stupid holsters. Just as cup sizes cater to a wide variety of women, sized holsters attempt to do the same thing. They'll provide you with one size holster, in this case B, which they market as being suitable for numerous firearms that happen to be in similar dimensions. Almost exclusively before trying the mentioned holster, Matt would use a Desantis Cosy Partner, which is a molded leather holster. Here is what happened. I holstered the firearm in the new holster at home and made sure it was secure and comfortable, and then drove 3 miles over to our storage facility. I spent 10 minutes in the storage facility just climbing around stuff and going through boxes. When I left, I walked outside and opened the car door. I went to go to get in the car and just heard a loud bang, Matt explained. There's no way that just happened. That did not just happen. And then I grabbed my butt and felt a hole in my pants and said, okay, that just happened. Matt went on to tell me that immediately following the discharge, he unloaded the firearm and set it on his seat and then went to check on a person who was in the vicinity. Once confirming that the other person was alright, he asked a question he never thought he'd ask another guy. Can you look at my butt? Matt continues, when the police showed up, they took a look at everything and tried to determine where the bullet went. It turns out that the round went straight down through my left cheek, through the door jamb of the car, and then exploded on the pavement. As an experienced handler of firearms, Matt got home from the hospital and immediately started inspecting everything. He couldn't get the striker to drop without pulling the trigger. Everything with the firearm is in 100% working order. He also noted that he's had the firearm for years and has fired thousands of rounds through it without issue and has also carried it extensively in the past. He was asked if anything in the car could have hit the trigger area of the holster, and he said that he hadn't even sat down in the seat before it went off. His and our best guess is this. He had a t-shirt tucked in at the same time, between the holster and his body. He also had a button-down shirt that covered everything up. What likely happened was a bunching of the t-shirt that got into the trigger guard of the pistol and pushed the nylon material inward. This is the theory as to how the trigger was manipulated. Would you ever be one to end up in such deadly situations caused by a mere faulty holster? Yup, not us either. Therefore, take a serious look at the top 9 list of the worst, most stupid holsters available out there that we have for you today, and keep your far distance from them. When talking about useless holsters, there are 9 holsters that are the worst ones on the planet, and here they are. Number 9. Doesn't cover the trigger guard. A good holster will cover the entire trigger guard, so that nothing can get inside the trigger guard while the firearm is in the holster. Many holster manufacturers will skimp in this part of the design, allowing some of the space between the trigger to be exposed. This is dangerous, cheap, and not worth carrying. This is especially true of those who carry striker-fired handguns. A good holster will cover the entire trigger guard. Number 8. Doesn't provide a full firing grip. A good holster will allow you to get a full firing grip with your strong hand, even while the firearm is fully seated in it. You should be able to draw the firearm with the exact same grip as when you are indexed on target. If your holster doesn't allow a full grip, it's time to buy a new one. We've seen way too many students show up to courses with holsters that force them to draw with one grip, transition to another grip, and then finally find their shooting grip. It's not only slow to draw, it's also horribly unsafe. Make sure you can achieve a full firing grip while the handgun is in the holster. Number 7. Doesn't retain the firearm even when off the belt. A good holster will retain the firearm even when the holster is taken off the belt, turned upside down, and shaken. Here's a hint, you can't do this with a hybrid holster. Number 6. Made of nylon. Friends don't let friends carry nylon holsters. There are many brands that create this type of holster, and all of them suck. All of them. The list is almost endless as to why, but here's a few examples we've seen firsthand. We have seen nylon holsters shake completely loose from their belt mount, meaning that the belt clip stayed on the shooter's belt, but the entire holster and the handgun inside it fell freely to the ground. We've seen shooters struggle to draw because the front sight gets snagged inside the holster on, you guessed it, the nylon. Always remember, friends don't let friends carry nylon holsters. Number 5, that has a gun list. If you are looking at a holster, especially one sold at a big box retailer like Bass Pro Shops, and it gives you a list of all the different gun models it will fit, run away quickly. This means that the holster is cheaply made, not formed to your handgun, and will certainly not provide quality performance. You're not buying a t-shirt, so avoid any holster that comes in sizes S, M, L, and XL. Although remember, this does not include the Safariland GLS or solid holsters like Filster Floodlight. This is way more about cheap one-size-fits-all options that should never be considered. Number 4, the Flipflop gun bucket. The Flipflop gun bucket has a piece of leather or neoprene that will become soft and flexible over time, essentially becoming a worn-in flip-flop. Attached to this flip-flop is a gun bucket. It's 1/3 of a Kydex holster, or what we call a gun bucket. The most common name for this kind of holster is a hybrid holster. Most hybrid holster manufacturers break the second and third rule of this video. They don't provide a full firing grip, your thumb is difficult, and they will not retain the gun when taken off the belt and shook upside down. Another huge safety risk here is that most hybrid holster wearers wind up pointing a loaded gun at themselves as they put the handgun into the holster. This happens because the flip-flop gets in the way of the gun bucket. Avoid these types of non-holsters. Number 3, the Blackhawk Serpa. Serpa holsters are a type of retention device that is deactivated with your trigger finger. The idea is to keep the deactivation of the retention mechanism as natural to the draw stroke as possible. The argument is that using the trigger finger encourages your finger to accidentally engage the trigger as you remove the firearm from the holster. The problem is not in the design of the holster. The problem lies in the fact that too many people do not properly train to use a fundamentally sound drawing motion. They get sloppy with it. If you have to be aware that they reward a good draw stroke. If you are not regularly training to use a proper draw, you may find yourself on the losing end. Much has already been said about this, as explained in Matt's story in the beginning of this video. Number 2, anything with the words Urban Carry on it. The Urban Carry holster is a colossal failure. Their IWB leather folding satchel demands a two-hand draw, and their newly released OWB leather holster has a retention device inside the trigger guard. No, we're not joking. Do not use these unsafe, miserable products. Number 1, the I Don't Train Strong Side Magazine Combo. A great way to prove to the world that you don't train with your handgun is to have a strong side holster that also has a spare mag pouch attached to it. That's not how it works, and anyone who has taken a fundamental handgun course knows this. If you choose to carry strong side and you choose to carry a spare mag, make sure your spare mag is accessible by your support hand. Your holster is your choice, but make it an educated choice. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.
Perfect.